Welcome, everyone. It's another episode of Track Talk Live. As you know, joint collaboration with the Mr. Analyst channel and Sports Talk Tech. And as usual, Leighton Levy is here, and I'm Dwaine from Sports Talk Tech. And we're here to break down a lot of track and field things. We can also do non-track and field, but this is primarily a track and field show. And we want to talk about the Jamaica team to the World Championships, Shanoya Douglas. But Leighton, it's good to have you back on. Good to be in company with you. But we can't not start anywhere. Where's Mondo Duplantis? Why is he doing this to us? It's another world record, 6:31 now. I think he's toying with us at this moment and toying with the sponsors for sure.
Mondo is the biggest scammer in the world of track and field. Whoever wrote that clause into his contract that pays him $100,000 every time he breaks the world record, that's $1.5 million as of today.
Right.
There are not many track and field contracts that are of that magnitude in the world.
Right.
Listen, man. Remember we talked about guys getting closer. Kerley is jumping 6:17.
Yeah.
What's his name? Jumped 6:06 there.
6:06.
In fact, I think 6 guys actually over 6 meters this season so far. So Mondo sits back, sees these guys getting closer, and say, you know what? I need to make another $100,000. Do you know? I was looking at some facts, some figures today on his profile. You know that since 2020, he has broke the world record by 1 centimeter every single time. Not 2, not 3, every single time. So he's gone from what? 6'17"?
6'17", yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So 6'18" to 6'19", 2021, right up to 31 now. So boss, kudos. It's the funny thing about it came at his meet today in Sweden.
The Mondo Classic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So kudos to him. Congratulations. Continue to do great things and push the pole vault to brand new levels. Because I'm sure now that Kerley and company realize that they still have to push further.
Right.
Because Mondo is so far ahead of the field. And I think he'll actually drag guys to higher levels. I wouldn't be surprised if Kerley jumps like 6:20, 6:21 this season, because they now know that to push Mondo, you have to be better than your best. And I think that's what we're seeing.
No, certainly. We've talked about it. We talked about how many men this season went in the 6-meter club. Curtis Marshall, Zachary Bradford from the United States, Volkov went 6-meter club, and the Norwegian guy there, Sondre Gottons from 6:06, and Emmanuel Carolis with the big 6:17. There's no question. I mean, he's single-handedly. I think you had texted me some weeks ago, right? When we were talking after Carolis did the 6:17, and we were saying to ourselves, it reminded you of the era where Bolt put the 100 meters in a different path, and
and Tyson
and everyone had to step up. Yeah, and so it's good. I mean, the running joke on social media is that Puma is dropping athletes just to pay Mondo, but
that's why they had to sell 29% stake of the company to this Chinese company a few weeks ago, because Mondo is making them pay big time.
Right. Well, good evening, everyone. I just see some people coming over. People on your channel coming through. We see the regular faces here as well. We'll get to some of those comments in due time, as we normally do. But Leighton, I want to transition from a superstar right now, one of the all-time greats, into a young woman that we've been watching for a few seasons performing well at the Carifta Games, the championships in Jamaica, obviously, World U20 championships a few years ago in Lima. And we can't, whenever we see a Jamaican talent, particularly a woman, because we have to give them credit, and they're doing some remarkable things, we have to take note. And Shanoya Douglas, you were very close to this last weekend. 11:06 over 100 meters, looked like she was toying with them, coming back running 22:58 in the 200 meters. What's your take on it? Plus this notion that perhaps she could run 10:8 this season. which I find a bit scary in two ways, and we can unpack that. But your thoughts on Shanoya Douglas and what she's achieved already for just starting this season?
Listen, when Shericka Jackson was at Vera, we saw the beginnings of what we now see as the second best combined sprinter of all time. I can't think, and if somebody out there has a better memory than me, because I have to admit, there are a lot of things that I don't remember anymore.
Right.
That since Shericka Jackson, have we seen a young female sprinter be good at the 100, 200, and 400? 52.6 this season for Shanoya, 22.58 and 11.06. Has anybody since Shericka Jackson been as good as her? Or at an equivalent stage?
Right.
This girl is scary because one of the things that I admire about her is the consistency of her improvement.
Right.
In 2023, Shanoya Douglas was at 12.05 athlete. I mean, she was what, 15? Because she turns 19 in September, I think. 2024, 11.28, which is a big drop. That's more than a half a second. 2025, 11.26, incremental increase, but still an improvement. And then this year, 11.06 means it drops 2/10. The scary part about that is she drops 2/10 in the part of the season where you know that she's still loaded.
Right.
Because champs are still 2 weeks away. Carifta is a month away. World Under 20 is a few weeks away, which means that Coach Smythe has her in a position right now where she's just beginning to tip, to break into the tip of the iceberg. Because he said in a subsequent interview after the Carifta trials that he feels like she can run 10.8. And based on what I saw on last week, Friday, I can't rule out a 10.87 from her at champs. Because here's the thing. Athletes, especially sprinters, taper somewhere between 8 to 10 days before a championship.
Right.
We're still a few days away from that day 10 or day 9. So I'm assuming that once he begins to unload her going to champs, I think we can legitimately say that Alana Reid's 10.92 at champs is under threat. And similarly, Brianna Williams' 22.50 national record that she set back in 2018 is also under threat. Because when I was actually trackside when she ran that 22.5, she cruised.
Yeah. Who was in the race? Was it Natrice East?
Natrice East was 9/10 of a second behind her. 23.48. No. Natrice East was 23.48, which is 9/10 of a second behind her. That's kind of bolt-like, lane-like mentality when it comes to running. So on the flip side though, now a couple of coaches were talking this weekend at the stadium. Not necessarily about Shanoya Douglas, we're talking generally.
Right.
Because somebody was asking, it was a young lady actually, who was asking, why is it that a lot of these kids that we see run so fast or early don't usually successfully make a transition? And one of the things that I remember talking to a physiologist and also a coach about it is that, especially in Jamaica, I can't speak to anywhere else,
right,
where the coaches push our athletes so hard that their mitochondrial levels are depleted, or close to being depleted at this stage. So by the time they get to the senior level, they have very little left to give. For those who might be watching who don't understand what I'm saying, is that your body is made up of cells, and each cell has a battery. Our battery is called mitochondria. And when you exercise or push your body to the limit, or put anybody through any level of strain, those cells, those mitochondria burn that energy level down, and then it recovers itself over time. When you're in the gym, that's why you a physio, what do you call them? A trainer will tell you, if you do one set and you take a 90-second break between the sets, because then it gives your mitochondria an opportunity to recharge. But when you constantly push and push and push those energy levels so early in your career, you run the risk of not being able to manifest your true potential when you get to the senior level, because your body energy levels are not, it's not able to replenish the energy the way it usually did when you're younger. Right. So that's the only concern, but I don't get the impression that that's the case with Shanoya Douglas, because when you look at her performances, they're not frequent. It comes, she usually have a few weeks in between each. I remember the first time we saw her lose to Alexia Henry up by Jamaica College. And then we saw her run, was it in New York? Or was she ran in New York before? I'm trying to remember when she ran in New York. I ran that 36.98.
Yeah.
So her performances have been well spaced to give her your body enough time to replenish and to recover.
Yeah, that was in January.
And I assume that in those instances, her nutrition is at the level that she's able to then fully recover. And based on what we've seen, you have to believe that her nutrition is on point, because every time she steps out, she does something even better than before with minimal effort, it seems. Because when she ran 11.06, after 60, I think she was just striding out, and then we realized the last 20 meters, she was actually overstriding, which means that she was probably just coasting because she realized that she was never under threat. So does she go to champs and break the records? That is going to be solely dependent on her. Because I don't see anybody else who can push her. There is nobody in class 1 right now, because Natrice Easton's in class 2. I don't see anybody in class 1 who can push her. Alexia Henry beat her at Jamaica College. That's not happening again. I can't tell you that. So because since that time, I think she has dropped more than 4/10 of a second. I think she ranked 11.50 something at JC. And Alexia Henry ran 11.30 something. I don't see anybody pushing Shanoya Douglas either here or at the Carifta games.
Yeah.
World Under 20 Champions is a different argument. Yeah. But within the region right now, she's heads and shoulders above everybody else.
Yeah, no, I'm special talent and an athlete with a really serious face too. I think I'm trying to remember. I don't want to maybe people in the comments or you might remember. Was it last Carifta where Dockery had false started and she was just she was just right there like trying to be composed, or it was or was it at champs? I just can't remember. But she always strikes me. Yeah, she always strikes me as an athlete with that's very serious about the sport. She understands the sport, and this is big running. We've seen a lot of talent out of Jamaica. It's hard to, as the transition argument you're making is a big one. I think perhaps the best talent we've seen in terms of a junior that transitioned the way we wanted right away and had immediate success was probably VCB, right? A win, one in Chile, and goes, runs that leg on the 2000 Olympic 4x1, and by the time you get to the Athens games, she's winning the 200 meters, but. She's special right here, and I don't want. Part of me feels like a 10.8. If he really thinks she can run 10.8, I'm worried about it, because like that the kind of pressure that puts on, and is our body really ready to do what we would consider big woman running, right? Like it's something that's a lot of running there if she can really run 10.8. But I do believe that 10.92 is under threat for sure, and I suspect then if it's under threat, then she has to be in that very low 10.9 on potentially 10.8 for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Here's the thing. If you look at her race, for example, in the 100, her stats has improved significantly. She's no longer getting up straight out of the blocks.
Yeah.
She's driving out of the blocks. She's being patient through the phases. And beyond the physical, one of the things, and I've spoken to a number of people about her in the last few weeks, because I told her, I can't say to you, I've been trying to get her on my channel, but a lot of these kids are reluctant to do interviews for whatever reason. I mean, that's your prerogative, not mine. And one of the things that I got from people who have been in her orbit is that she's like a VCB, that warrior mentality. I was told a story about her running a 4x4. I think it was at Carifta last year, where when they looked at the medal count before the relays, apparently she said to someone, "We need more medals."
Mm.
And she was tired, and she admitted she was tired because she ran the 100 and the 200. I think she lost to Sabrina Dockery. I don't remember exactly how that went, but she had done a number of events. And she still put her body out there to run the 4x4. But Jamaica didn't need it now. Remember, Jamaica had already dominated Carifta like we've done for 38 of the 40 odd years that Carifta games have been around, or 50 odd years of Carifta have been around. Because Jamaica's won, I think it was 38 years in a row.
Yeah, it's probably the only time we didn't win was when Cuba was in it a year or so.
Bahamas won in 84.
Yeah.
And they won in 82. I think Bermuda won in 73. I don't remember exactly but people can look that up right now and tell you. But I think it's probably 3 or 4 times that Jamaica has ever lost the Carifta games. And so the fact that she wanted to go out there just to ensure that the 4x4 girls won,
right,
tells you the kind of mentality that she has. And when you have that kind of mentality, coupled with the talent that she has, I wouldn't be surprised if she does anything that people expect of her this year and will eventually transition, because there have been rumors circulating for a couple of years now that she's going to go pro straight out of high school. I'm hoping that's not the case, but I'm usually wrong on these things because I'm a kind of guy I feel like, there's
no rush.
Go college, get the NIL. Well, the thing with the NIL now is Trump is threatening to overturn that, so I don't know how that works anymore.
Yeah,
but the reality is,
I don't think he has control over that. But anyway, we can discuss that.
Oh well, there's a lot of sycophants among the billionaires who own who run the NCAA and all that business, so you never can tell. Yeah, but the thing about it is that go college, get NIL, graduate, and maybe even go pro in your second year after your tenure, after your sophomore year, and finish college like Brianna Liston has done. And then go fully pro. I mean, I often fear for these athletes when they go pro so quickly,
right?
Because I know for a fact that all it takes, and we've spoken about this before, is one injury and your career is done. And that one contract, the money from that one contract, by the time you finish paying coaches, physios, your agent, everything, that money doesn't last any amount of time.
Right.
So then you're back to square one without a degree, without the kind of credentials that you need to go on and live a normal life. So but there's been rumors circulating for a couple of years now that she's likely to go pro at the end of the season, whether it's this season or whatever it is. But I would not be surprised if she goes pro and then starts to do some phenomenal things.
Right.
Because depending on who she signs with, and let's say she goes to MVP. I doubt it very much because I don't think Nike's in that conversation with her.
Right.
But say she ends up with Lance Browman like with Sabrina Dockery. This girl could be the next Shanoya Miller, a Jamaican version of Shanoya Miller. That's how good she is. So
very scary.
Yeah, it's scary good. She's really very good. I mean, I remember the first time I saw her, I wasn't particularly convinced. But over the past 2.5 seasons, I'm like, she's a real deal.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many Jamaican talent, Terry Long, Sabrina Douglas, all these athletes that are coming through that, they come a lot, right? But she's up there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I see someone is saying,
Early B, what are you saying? With a talent like that, I see her going pro.
Yeah.
Objectivity saying that maybe the 10-8 isn't far-fetched since the World U20 is in Eugene this year. Which one you wanted to respond to?
The one, what's that? One clipped YT. I wouldn't say I'm as confident as Terry Long. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. Terry Long for me, and again, this is just mere speculation. I don't want, this is not coming from any position of authority. I want to make that clear. This is just from my observation. I don't think that Tiana Lee Terry Long is mentally ready for this stage of her career yet. I've seen her pull out of meets, of races, or run poorly in finals, or that tells me that she has a situation where maturity is not a thing, huh? And not everybody matures at the same rate mentally. And sometimes we might be pushing athletes into a space that you're not ready for yet because we think they have the physical talent. But the physical talent is not the only thing that's a factor here. We see people like Shelley make that transition relatively smoothly, but we've come to see Shelley's mentality. We knew Veronica Campbell's mentality from she was at Veer. We've seen Ilian Thompson mentality come through from a no-name athlete to become probably the greatest sprinter ever to put on a pair of specs among the women in the 100 and 200. Right. But I mean, I remember talking to her when she ran at Intercal Champs about many years ago. And in talking to Elaine,
Elaine?
Yeah, you got the sense that she was ready to be who she eventually became. For Tiana Lee Terrelong, I'm not convinced. I'm hoping I'm completely wrong on this.
Right.
But there have been instances during the course of her time at Edwin Allen, and I mean even not basically Edwin Allen because she hasn't done anything since she turned pro. But I'm not convinced that here is where she is if she's ready here yet for what is required of her as a professional. But as I said, I could be 100% wrong, and I'd be more than willing to stand corrected.
Right. The thing I would say is that she's 18. She will be 19 in October, so there's a lot of time. Marlon Williams on your channel is saying I think Terrelon needs some growth this year. Will serve her as a rebuilding of her, I guess, mentally and physically. Godgirl876 is asking, how do you explain Alana Reid's progress / non-progress? That's a tough one. Yeah.
Alana Reid, I think, I don't know. It's hard to say. Sometimes, I think you've probably heard me say before when we're doing these collaborations that sometimes when you give a young athlete, too much money too soon, and they don't have somebody around them to tell them no and say, look, this don't make no sense right now, and are willing to be yes people. Sometimes the athlete suffers as a consequence. I don't know. It's hard to read Alana Reid because we know she has the talent.
Yeah.
But there are little things along the way. She's at first of all Star Athletics, and she goes all the way down to Arkansas,
right?
And then she's back into Jamaica. The only common denominator between all those three places is her. So clearly, something within her setup is not where it's supposed to be. Because if you go Star Athletics and where is that? I don't know. Again, this is just rumor. I don't know that she couldn't get along with Sha'Carri and rest of
Yeah, that's
understandable.
Too,
yeah. Because you hear when you have too many alpha dogs in a camp, that will happen. So I don't have a problem with that. But you go to Arkansas, where I think their system there works very well when you look at the people who they have in their camps. And then she's there a season. In fact, she barely made any progress there. I think actually she went backwards in many.
Yeah.
And now she's back home. So you cannot not, honestly don't know. You're assuming that because she's a common denominator. Look, those two places coincidentally cannot be a bad place for bad places for her in your first 2 years as a pro.
Right.
Because the thing is, we've seen other athletes go to those camps and succeed. I mean, notwithstanding Marvin Bracey. But Bracey is probably the outlier. But we've seen Melissa thrive. We've seen Sha'Carri thrive. Coleman up and down, but still, he's not gone backward. And then you go to Arkansas, where there was Akira Nugent, and you had Stacey Ann Williams,
right,
and you had Nikisha Price. And then after basically a season, you're back in Jamaica, trying to find somebody to coach you. And that's the thing, trying to find somebody to coach you. Because based on what I had heard, a couple of people said no to her. So if that is true, then there is a concern there about whether or not everything is all right with her within her immediate orbit. So, as I said, this is all innuendo. This is all rumor. We're talking about what could be, because when an athlete just starts out their career, whether it's male or female, and they land in a circumstance, you're not going to find them bouncing around that early. Maybe later on in their careers when they're trying to recapture something, you might see that, but not this early in your career. When I look at the athletes that have gone to MVP, right, or racers track club, they don't. Well, racers maybe not so much, but MVP, you don't see them bouncing around. When even Radar Riders Club, Tumbleweed, you don't see people bouncing. Maybe after a couple of seasons, you might see them move. Like, for example, Daryl Nita was there. She went to Ariel in Europe and then came back and is now at Lance Brahman. But when you're this early in your career and you're not seemingly settled, something is not right. And that's how I read it. That's how I read it. So I could be wrong. But that's how I read it.
Yeah. So, it's an interesting thing. I mean, there's a lot of comments coming on both sides. Don't forget to like the videos, guys, and we appreciate it. Dynamics is saying, I agree. He's agreeing with you. Bouncing around early in your career isn't a good sign at all. Yeah, we wish her well. I mean, she's what, 21? She should be about, she just turned 21 this year, right? So I suspect the good thing about all of these athletes is that there's time to figure it out. But as you know, the career is often not very long unless you're a really, really special talent. So we'll see. Yeah. Brian is asking if we'll be at Carifta. I won't be. I don't know if Leighton is.
I won't be either.
Is it in Grenada?
Yeah, it's in Grenada. I wanted to go, but there are things. Put it this way: when there are things in my life right now that are not where they need to be, so going to Carifta right now is not high on my list of priorities right now. Not this year.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So we'll try to get back to some of your comments, guys. But when Leighton and I get together, so we often spend a lot of time talking. What else? Before we get to the indoor stuff, Leighton, there were some really good performances at the Jamaica Carifta games, trials rather. Riquelme Reed, I know you like him a lot. 10,
oh
16.
Boy, yeah.
What should we expect at Champs? Because when you put together that kind of combination with, what's his name? Is it Stevens? And
Stevenson is, I'm hoping that Jamal Stevenson is healthy. Right. He pulled out in the heats because they said he felt something. So I hope it's like a niggle that they were, and it's more precaution than anything else. Because he's a talent. We saw him at Carifta last year. Redeeming himself after false starting. It's a false, but a controversial situation at Champs.
Right. And
there's this kid from his color named Wade, and then of course there is Sanjay Seymour, who I did an interview with last week. Yeah. When I spoke to Seymour, if you haven't watched it on my channel, guys, you can go and watch it after this, where he said he thinks he's the best of them all. And he said he didn't execute right in the 100, which is why he lost the 100.
Right.
But if you saw how easily he won the 200.
Was what, 20.95? Yeah.
Yeah, 20.95. And he literally jogged the last 45 meters of it. When he caught the field, he started looking at him. Because Garth Gale, actually, the president of the J3, has actually collared him after the race and, balled him out for doing what he did. And he was he was a little bit annoyed about that. But he is supremely confident. When you listen to him talk, he's not hyperbole. He's not trying to hype up himself. He genuinely believes that he's the best of the lot. Whether or not that proves to be the case in 2 weeks, we'll see. But 10:20 is not that far from 10:16.
Right.
And, when you add all of the talent that's in that potential mix, that could probably be one of the most engaging races at Champs this year, because there are a lot of really talented kids. And I mean, Riquelme Reed is extremely talented, also extremely confident as well, which is a good thing. Because when you have all of these confident athletes lined up,
right,
it's kind of like 2012 Olympic finals when you had Gay Bolt, you had Gatlin.
Blake.
Not so much Asafa because, in those circumstances, Asafa's really ever pulled anything off significant. But that lineup, even go right down to Turan de Martina.
Yeah.
They're largely confident dudes. So they're going to give you their best when they got to that line. And I think that's why you're going to see our champs in the 100 for the boys, under 20. The other thing that caught my eye at Carifta Trials was Tiana Marshall. She ran 12:97 in the sprint hurdles.
Yeah.
Only 8 Jamaican women under 20 have gone under 13 seconds for the 100-meter hurdles. This girl, I've been watching this girl for a few years now. And, Jamaica has had a lot of talent. The Akira Nugent, you had Brittany Anderson, who is, on her way back from childbirth. Yeah. Daniel Williams, of course, 2-time world champion, Bridget Foster Hilton, Michelle Freeman. Jamaica has had a history of quality. Delarine, Ellis London, Bridget Foster Hilton, Lassina Golden Clark.
Yeah.
This girl could very well be the next one to join those ranks. Her hurdling technique is not as good as it needs to be just yet. But if it is not as good as it needs to be just yet, and you're running 12:97 as an under 20 athlete, really, really talented young lady. There are a couple of guys from Edwin Allen that ran 150.05 and 150.15. The guy who came second, we did a video with 4 guys from Edwin Allen a few days ago. Among them was Brian Lavelle, who tells me that the guy who came second, trying to remember his name right now, only started, he lives nearby him in Frankfield, the community. He only started running the 800 last year. And you're running 150.15. Given what we've seen in terms of the progress that Navaski Anderson, Tyrese Taylor, Rivaldo Marshall have made in the last few months, this kid in another 2 or 3 years, once he starts to master and then does the work necessary to improve, it is not implausible that he could be a 145, 146 man in the next 2 years. So I was impressed by, because I finished 1-2 at the Carifta Trials.
Yeah.
And I was impressed with that as well. I mean, the 400s were good as well. What my conflict with the 400 for me is that all these kids are 18, 17, 18, 19.
And run 45.7s and
45.7 and 45.8 and 45.9. On paper, to me, are good times. You can't complain. But when you look at where the rest of the world are with regards to the 400, you're still behind.
Yeah.
Kids that age are running. Look at what's his name? Jesus. 44 or 5 guy from Alabama. I remember at school. NCAA there, indoor guy.
And
when you look at a lot. When I look at the Americans, and I use the Americans because the Americans are largely the dominant country when it comes to the 400.
Yeah.
I would like for us to get closer to that, where we see kids 18, 19 running 45 1s or 45 O's or 44 9s. That tells me that they're trending in the right direction, because since Akeem Bloomfield ran 44.98 at Champs a decade ago, more than a decade ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, Caleb McRae. Thanks,
McRae, His name was slipping me, and even Sims has a 44.6 this year.
Yeah, I'm not seeing where we are making that level of improvement. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the coaching, or maybe it's the unwillingness to do the work. I don't know. It seems a little bit. While I'm happy for the times, I tend to be greedy sometimes. I'm thinking that it could be a little bit better. So that's where I'm at with the phone. I like the times, because when I look at the times that are across the Caribbean, they're a little bit in sync, or a little bit better than the times across the Caribbean. but still, we're still
But
behind.
that's not
where I
necessarily the
think,
standard, right? And if
yeah,
we know where you're coming from, I mean, you and I have talked about this a lot. I mean, the Jamaican 400-meter history is so legendary that it should be much closer to the kind of products that the United States are doing.
yeah,
And
for
they
real,
always, yeah.
because
Or now we
you're
think about
looking at,
Botswana or someplace, the
yeah,
Africans are,
look,
you know,
Botswana has four guys on a
South
25 right now
Africa.
running
Yeah,
running
yeah,
43s and 44s.
yeah,
You're looking at, look, Bert Cameron won in 1983 with the first World
yeah.
Championships, and it took us 40 years
Mm,
before Antonio Watson became the second man to win.
right.
I remember now, Arthur Wynne won our first Olympic gold medal in 1948.
48.
George Roden won it in 52. And then
And obviously, Herman
we had
Kelly
a
had a world
bunch.
record too at one
Yeah,
point. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Herman was the first man to go on a 46
Yeah.
seconds to the 400. And it took us many years before we had some decent 400-meter people back in the 1960s, 1970s.
Yeah.
And we've always had guys there or thereabouts, but never truly
Yeah.
among the elite in the world. Yeah?
Yeah.
And I don't know why we've gone backwards in that event, because that was the event that actually set Jamaica's Olympic record off, got it off the
Right.
ground, the gold medal in the
Yeah.
400. So
We had some
I
good
think
relay quartets in the
Yeah.
90s. Micah McDonald, David Clark, Greg Horton. There's a
yeah, and now Roxburgh
here.
Martin, yeah.
But yeah, it's
That was
it's not where it
probably the
needs to be.
strongest. Yeah,
Mhm.
that was a strong David Clark. That was
Yeah.
a strong 4x4 team. But they were never really good enough to end up on the pole. I think Michael McDonald, Gregory Horton
Greg Horton
actually
has a bronze.
won
yeah.
a bronze medal, yeah.
Mm.
But beyond that, everybody was just outside that level. There were good
Yeah.
times, 44 sevens and 44 eights, and
yeah. Mhm.
in that era. German Gonzalez has held the national record for 44-4, and Ricardo Chambers had 44-6. It was, I don't remember. Before Rashid
Big
McDonald
boy,
ran 43-93. So we have these little things going in and out. Yeah, see, Honor Green
Anika
says
is in the house. He's
Quincy
like,
Wilson.
yeah, running 44-10.
And he's what, 18? So I'm
He's
thinking
16, I think. Yeah. Mm.
no, and he's past 16
He's 18
now.
now, right? How old is he?
Yeah,
now? Or 17?
I think he's 17 or 18 now.
Yeah.
But I think he's like an outlier still. But I think our
Yeah,
guys
he's
at the under 19 level, under 20 level should be running 44s. That's how I think of it.
No,
And there's
I
somebody
agree.
asking if I'm okay. Thank you for your concern.
Oh,
I am not. Let me be frank with you. For the last 3 nights, I've woken up at 2 o'clock and can't go back to sleep. I go to bed like at 11 o'clock and I wake up at 2. So I'm a little bit tired, yeah. So thank you for noticing that.
We won't
the
keep
bags
letting
under
too
my
long.
eyes. No,
Yeah.
I survive. I mean, yeah, I'm a little tired, and to be honest, if you're watching your channel, you'll see I've been doing a lot of videos as well. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Leighton is putting them out faster than we can watch them. But that's a good thing, That means the content is always there. There's some things over on your channel that we've probably missed. I think this is Devere McNeil is saying 400 isn't attractive to them. That's why. I don't know why we would think the 400 meters is not unattractive. It's still one of the marquee events in track and field.
It's wild, man. The 400 is wild.
Yeah.
The 100 is great. The 200,
right?
Yeah, the 100 is great. The 200 is great. The 400 brings out something.
Yeah.
The 400 is almost like the perfect event.
Yeah.
That combines speed, strategy, and speed endurance.
Yeah.
Because having run 400 in high school, which I was never very good at, when the beer jumps on your back, that last
everything
70, 80 meters, every part of your lock, you feel pain where you never thought you had parts. So trust me, yeah, man,
it is.
The 400
it's a special thing on both men and women right now. You think about what Sydney and Paulino and NASA is doing, and then when you even look at the Caribbean, Jeremy Richards finally getting on the podium last year, running a 43.8 in 2 years ago in Paris and can't get on the podium. It is a stack field, potentially the world record. You never know. Kibinet Sheppy says he's going to break the world record. I'm not quite sure, but would I put it past him? I don't know. He's a kid, right? And he's already on top of the world. So it's a special place to be.
Yeah, because look, Jamaica, some talented kids, Delano Kennedy, you saw the World Championships last year, 44.7, I think he ran. Antonio Watson, obviously, who looked good so far this season, coming back from injury. I kept him with the basically all last season. There's a couple other guys as well who are in the 44 range. Sean Bailey, who can't stay healthy. The thing about it is that we have guys who have the potential, but for some reason they're not maximizing that potential, and that's a concern that I have.
Right, and I think you have to be real. It's not a fringe event in the sport, and there's a lot of money to be had if you are really good at that event for sure. One last thing on the Carifta. Your thoughts on Michael Edwards? Is it Michael Andre Edwards? He won 736 and 1578. Looks good to you in the triple and
won a champs last year. He was one of JC's primary point winners last year. 730. You see, here's the thing.
It's still
I
not
get
good.
spoiled. I get spoiled by people like Wayne Pinnock, who who used to do these things with his eyes closed. But maybe a triple jump is a better event. I mean, 15 is not bad.
17 is not bad at all.
But the long jump can use some work.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe he might excel at both. It depends on which school. If he gets a scholarship, it depends on which schools he ends up at. If he ends up at Kansas State with Travis Goffert, maybe he does something good there. If he goes to Arkansas, also has a good program as well. LSU as well has a good program. So it all depends on where he ends up. But for right now, not impressed with the long jump. Pleased with the triple jump.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say about the long jump is such a kind of interesting space globally that we've seen a significant drop off in terms of a lot of consistent, 830 jumpers and above. You get them here and there, but you don't always get them. So you never know if you could be competitive in that space. Yeah. Let me get one more comment from Anika before we move. She's asking about Bramwell. Is he okay? I don't
Last time I saw him was at Jamaica College. He was running a 400 and he got hurt. And we haven't heard anything since. So most likely he's probably still recovering. Remember, he missed a portion of last season as well. He was just actually, when he got hurt at JC, he was just coming back from injury.
Right.
But he's a talented youngster. Remember, he won at Carifta. My wife loves him to death. When I won at Carifta a couple of years ago, I said to people in the crowd talk too much. He was in the Bahamas. And I'm like, I like your vibe, dude. But he's talented. But as we've seen with so many talented athletes, their bodies just can't cash the checks that they want to, their minds want to write. So I'm hoping that he's healthy enough to come back out for champs. But so far, we haven't heard anything about him. And based on what I've been asking, people have been keeping that information close to their chests. So, we're hoping, because JC was a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
More than a few weeks ago, more than a month ago.
3 weeks or a month ago, right? Yeah.
No, man, it's more than a month. This was like February.
Right.
So so maybe he's coming back to full fitness, and maybe we'll see him in 2 weeks at champs. You never can tell. Right. I'd like to see him come back because I think he's a talented kid. Yeah.
Cool. I know we'll have time for this in coming weeks too, but your just initial thoughts on the Jamaica team to World Indoors. On paper, it looks strong, but when you think about the landscape in general, in terms of some of the events that you would want them to be competitive in, it's very hard to see where, at least in my mind, where some of those medals would be coming for sure. But your overall thoughts on it?
I think in terms of giving the athletes experience, it's a good team. It's a strong team.
Yeah.
Johnny Smith has been running well all season outdoors for 60 meters. Does that translate to a 703, a 702, 701 indoors? Yeah. I guess we'd have to wait and see. Brenna Liston has been training well out here. She's a girl who's had experience running sixes indoors, SEC champion a couple of seasons ago. But can she get down, or will she get down? Not can she, because I think she can. Will she get down to the times that will make her competitive against a Dasso, a Sears, and Alfred, Van der Werken?
Yeah,
that's how you pronounce it, Van der Werken, right?
I think it's Van der Werken, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. And Dina Asher Smith, for example.
Yeah.
If she can get her time down into that space, she will be
Right.
competitive. Whether or not she ends up on the podium, a completely different matter.
Yeah.
So so that's one. But
I like
where
what,
I think Jamaica,
but Smith for Janelle has been. I think he did something on it recently again too. But she's in special form this season, so I would not put it past her. She's tested. We saw her. She ran indoors as well earlier. Was in January, and now she's back outdoors. And the way she walked down those athletes the other day, what was it, a week ago or 2 weeks ago? No, I can't remember. She's
last weekend where she ran 6:96, but the wind was 2.3.
Mm-hmm.
So that's closer to a 7:12 or 7:16 or near one. But the thing about it is this: her pickup is really quick, and her top end speed is incredible. The thing with the top end speed thing is that 6 is too start for you to maximize that.
Right.
She ran in Stockholm. I ran 7:12. I ran down the Clayton Twins.
Yeah.
In February, and then she ran in Germany. I ran 7:17. Came back home and ran a couple of 7:0s and things. But if she can translate those times into something faster indoors, reacclimatize herself to what she used to do when she was at Auburn. And because she's clearly stronger now, I mean, her strength is clear to see. Maybe she can throw herself in the mix. You never can tell.
Given
the warrior mentality that I know she has, she's going to go there and give it her best. Whether or not that's going to be good enough to get her into the final and on the podium, that's another matter.
Yeah.
But where I think we're likely to get medals is in the field. I think Tajay Gill and Kerry. What's Kerry's last name again? She's McLeod, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them have had experience.
Yeah.
Jumping indoors. And we know if Tajay shows up, Tajay could very well go there and win the thing.
Right.
Kerry has won medals indoor. I think he won a bronze medal world indoor, a silver world indoors already. So he has experience as well. So I think, and based on where I say the world is this year, there's nobody that's that much better than they are that would not put them in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Sarah Burkhoff would say something different, but
outside
of him, I think they have the ability to get there if they're
I think if them jump, if Kerry or Tajay can get anything over 8:20, I think they're in the mix for medals.
Right. Yeah.
Lamar Distin, remember I told you the last few years she's been struggling with her approach. So far this season, she jumped 192, 194, and her last meet she jumped 196. Correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody can Google it and check. I think that's in the top 5 best jumps in the world this year.
Yeah, because Topic has 2 meters, right?
So if she can continue, I remember Lamar is a NCAA indoor champion. So the indoor situation is not unique to her, it's not new to her, it's not strange to her. At Texas A&M, she was consistently good, except for that year. I think she had an injury and she had a problem with her run-up. I think they changed coaches and then she had an issue. But so given where she's been jumping this year, and based on what I saw I watched her last 2 meets, she's jumping a lot more confidently now.
Mm-hmm.
So if she goes into Poland with, she was already in Slovakia and I think Czech Republic jumping for the early part of the season. So I think if she goes in there with the same confidence that I see her jumping with, who knows? She could very well be on the podium for silver bronze.
Yeah, it depends, right? Because she's joined 6. Yaroslava Visser did 203 Manuchik this year. Topic, joins the ranks with 2 meters, and there's Zadzik, I think, with a 198, and she's down there too. And then there's Eleanor Patterson. So it depends, if those athletes show up, it might be a tough night. But I do agree with you. She has the ability to, if she can get a good series going, then perhaps she could be looking for a medal there.
Yeah, for real.
But outside of that, I'm struggling to see where I think Smith probably, if fingers crossed, if she really gets into the mix,
probably Akeem Blake because Akeem has won bronze. But I mean, if we don't come out with any medals, I wouldn't be surprised. But if we come out with 2 or 3, it wouldn't be surprised either.
Yeah. No, it's a strong men's team too. I mean, the thing about the men's 60 this year, it's interesting. You just never know, right? I mean, obviously, the Jordan Anthony kid last week winning at the U.S. National Championships or the week before, looking really strong. And, I don't know what will happen with some of these collegiate athletes. You think about like Ajayi there from Nigeria. I don't know if he'll make the trip after this weekend. And, well, starting in a couple of days, we have the collegiate championships for indoors. So you can't quite always know what the collegiate athletes will do, whether they'll show up there. But I think Hakeem Blake been looking good all season. So much so he won the World Indoor Gold Tour for the 60 meters, collected at what was it, $10,000, and obviously a buy into the championships. So we'll see.
Look, I think it's a team that, because that same interview I'm talking about with Brian Level. Brian Level said he'd like to go to the World Indoors.
Yeah.
And he's been selected. So
and also Thompson, will Thompson run too, or is there any
Kishin? Yeah, Kishin and Hakeem and Level will be running the 60. So I think Brian will relish the experience. Anybody who knows him knows that that kid has ice water in his veins. I don't think any occasion intimidates him any at all. I think he probably go there thinking he can win it. Because, I mean, albeit he ran the last meet, he ran 640 something. I think 46 or 648.
Yeah, he was running, he almost won.
But it was win. Yeah, he's win the thing. And of course, there's a meet where he ran down Kishan Thompson.
Yeah.
His speed, there is no doubt about his speed, but the 60 meters are different animal altogether. Because you have to get your feet on there very quickly and get your speed up as quickly as possible, because before you blink, the race is over. It won't hurt him to be there. And I actually think it will improve his 100. So that 982 could become a 970 something in the outdoor season. So I think it'd be a good experience for him. I think it would be nice for Hakeem to go back and try to medal again. That was a plan all season for him to be selected, and of course to go back and I think Mikey said that he thinks he can run 6'4" or maybe even faster. But saying it's is one thing, but going out there and doing it is something completely different. So so on paper it's a strong team based on what we know they can do outdoors. Whether or not that converts to what they can do indoors, another matter altogether. I do think our best opportunities though are in the field and not necessarily on the track.
We didn't even mention Jordan Scott potential. I don't know what he'll do.
Oh yeah,
he could
I forgot to mention him as well.
Do something there as well. It depends on what happens in the space. The one thing we know that World Indoor Championships will serve us up some top class athletes. I have been really enjoying it over the last how many years. It took some time to get used to, but it's something that you've seen a lot of top class athletes, and the Brits are gonna come heavy. The Americans always have good teams, and we'll see what we get. But there's money to be had. We'll talk more. We'll do probably a different preview. It's in 2 weeks, so we'll have time to talk through some of that as well. Couple other things, because I know we're getting close to the hour mark, and we'll try to get back to your comments too, guys. One, Fred Kerley, I don't want to bring it up, but I'm going to bring it up again. Only because I swear I wasn't going to talk to you about it again, Leighton. But we discovered we knew this was going to happen anyway, that he would have been suspended for whereabouts violation. That was coming. But the thing that really irks me about the whole situation is the kind of back and forth on social media, as if he's playing like a victim here. And I just don't get it, because, and if we think about the ruling itself for such a seasoned athlete, he was very negligent in terms of updating his whereabouts in the Adams system. And, he's complaining about USADA's anti-doping structure. And then, he's walking off, obviously, as we know, into the enhanced game. So, I don't know if he's leaving the sport with a stain, but I don't know if you have any thoughts on it. He's certainly not happy, because I don't think he'll ever come back to track and field given his age anyway.
Yeah, listen, Fred thrives on chaos, and that's just the only thing that I can use to explain Fred Kerley. I remember when he came to Jamaica a few years ago to run at the Racers Grand Prix, and just watching him function within the space, he's not. No, I don't want to say this. Or should I? I don't think his elevator goes up to his top floor. I think Fred is. He's one of those individuals where if he's not in some kind of combative situation, he doesn't feel like he's comfortable.
Right.
So he's always looking for a war. He's always looking for a battle. He's always playing victim. I mean, I'm kind of tired of him, to be honest, because while controversy can be good for the sport sometimes, the kind of controversy that Fred brings is not the kind of controversy
it's not what we want.
Yeah.
Not from a former world champion as well, Yeah.
No. Yeah. So
Anyway,
it is Fred.
I guess it is Fred. I mean, he'll be in Vegas, and I can't say I'm gonna watch it, to be honest. I don't want to watch the world. I don't know where I'll be. I don't.
If it's being televised, I'm gonna watch it because I want to get a perspective on it.
Right.
Because I'm sure somebody's gonna ask me about this eventually.
Yeah.
Wherein my impressions of it. I mean, I've already been asked for a couple of interviews on radio here in Jamaica.
Yeah. I hate it. It's not, but we'll see. My position on it too. It's more, I think it's a billionaire guys who are trying to cheat life, and it's an interesting cheat death rather. But we'll talk about it. Speaking of cheating, the saga of Grand Slam track never ends. I tried to read the court ruling this evening because the judge was there. We saw earlier again. Now the biggest allegation here, and this is the part that is unsettling, because we know Grand Slam has been a failure in terms of getting off the ground, and we commiserate with that. I think everyone who loves track and field wants to see alternative competitions for athletes so they can succeed, but it clearly didn't work. But the thing that we saw earlier this year was the accusation this week, and actually Adam Crafton from The Athletic did notice this a month ago, but he asked for comment and no one commented on this, which is that Michael Johnson is now being accused of taking payments from out of the coffers of Grand Slam track. And it's very dangerous, Leighton, because it opens up, if this is true, it opens up a situation that I don't think he wants, right? So what happened today at the court filing was that they asked the judge to allow them to sue Grand Slam track, Winners Alliance, and Michael Johnson. And as many people know, and I know you know this, is that once you go through a bankruptcy procedures, suing is something that is not really allowed because it allows to protect the process, and the bankruptcy proceedings that they're doing is a restructuring. I'm thinking they should go for Chapter 7 and call it a day, but they're trying to restructure. But if for some reason the judge decides, if he thinks this rises to the level of that they were sneaking money back and forth when they shouldn't have, it really blows up the whole process. It will even further make the athletes not get paid. And two, Johnson's personal assets could be under threat. Your thoughts on all of this?
Yeah, listen, this is a serious situation, because at the very outset, we're thinking it was just a bad business model.
Yeah.
That was unlikely to succeed. I mean, we all hoped it would work, but it didn't. But based on the information that has come out since, it raises a lot of questions about the legitimacy of it, because, we've come to subsequently learn that the first thing is that the claim that they had $30 million, was not the case. They actually had 13, right? Which is less than half of what they thought. And then the promise of more money coming in from Eldridge, which, for those who don't know, Eldridge is a company that is part owned by Todd Bowley, who's a part owner of Chelsea Football Club. After they saw what happened in Jamaica, they turned tail and cut. Because I said, boy, this is not working. And there are many reasons why it didn't work in Jamaica. In fact, this week, before the parliament, one of the permanent secretaries in the Ministry of Culture, Entertainment and Sports, Entertainment and Sports, said that they paid Grand Slam track $350,000 for the track, which we already knew because there was reporting on that, including my reports on Sportsback.tv. We reported that Jamaican contribution to the new track was $350,000. Grand Slam put up $450,000 to get that whole piece of. In fact, the story actually is that the the certification of the track expired in July last year,
Right.
and it's still not certified yet. And hence, Kishan Thompson's 975 round of trials last year had not been ratified by IAAF yet.
Yeah.
Or World Athletics,
World
actually. I don't like
Athletics,
that. So, but that's an aside. But there are a lot of things that have come to the fore now that concern me about the legitimacy of the claims that Johnson was making leading up to
Right.
the collapse of Grand Slam track, where
Right.
first of all, they had less money than they thought.
Yeah.
They were losing money throughout 2025. At the start of the meets in April, they were down to $5 million in cash.
Yeah.
And then, 10 days before the final, they decided to cancel the final meet.
Yeah.
Michael Johnson.
They curtailed Philly Slam to 2 days, and then they
shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Johnson, they said got paid $500,000 to an unknown account or unspecified account. I think that was the term that they used.
Yeah.
Knowing that they still owe the athletes and they still owe the vendors money.
Yeah.
So
and also, this $2.7 million that he said he put in from his personal money, there's no real accounting, at least to date, from the forensic stuff to suggest that even happened. But
happened, So you're looking at a situation where when you add up all of this, you could, in all reasonable terms, say this was a fraudulent action.
It is.
Because they've been lying from day one, coming right down to the very end. You see, it's one thing if you had the money and things didn't work out the way they did, and then of course you had to file for bankruptcy.
Right.
But when you have these little dots along the way, these little breadcrumbs along the way that tells you a different story, then you have to wonder. I have a friend actually who said to me the other day that this was Johnson's way of paying himself some money. Because, as you know, he was CEO, he was what? He was CEO, he was ambassador, he was commissioner, and that.
Yeah.
He was suggesting that Johnson getting paid across all those three levels for the different roles. I don't know. I mean, I don't understand the accounting, and that world is a little bit beyond me. But when you look at the things that I understand,
right?
The under-reporting or the over-reporting of the cash that you had available, everything points to a reasonable case of fraud.
Yeah, so here's the interesting thing. And I had a video on this with Dan Kaplan, who's a sports business journalist here in the States. He covered this thing. And he told me, Leighton, and it's in the video too, but he was telling me from the time Grand Slam was in trouble, he had it on a real authority that they had no money. Like that 12.7 or 13 that we knew. But not only that, they knew they didn't have that money, and they went ahead and pushed all of the slams. So at that point, when that occurred, they could have just gone down to maybe 2 or changed the whole format, but they were hell-bent on portraying this idea that we can actually deliver this massive thing, and they're spending all this money on marketing and going all over the country here trying to figure out that this, trying to tell people this is the biggest thing on the planet, and it just never worked. And so it hurts me now even more, because you look at it, they're trying to save the athletes by saying like they'll get 85% of their money. But if you're a vendor and supplier, under the current structure, if the court actually approves, this is like 1.5% of what you own. We're not talking about big vendors here. A lot of these people are what we would call medium or small businesses in the United States. They're not massive. So how are they supposed to take this? And if this is really true, he could be in real trouble. Because if the judge decides like, look, we're gonna take this off the table, it's gonna collapse, and they're gonna sue.
Yeah, because as I said, those little bits of information I just gave you a while ago, if a judge looks at that and within the purview of the law, he sees where this is some kind of deception, it wouldn't be unreasonable for him to rule that this, the lawsuit can go ahead.
Yeah,
because
it's not unreasonable.
They were hoodwinking it. Well, the perception is that they were hoodwinking people from day one. And that's not good.
Yeah, you don't want that in any kind of business. And also, it's just never good, and I just don't understand why Winners Alliance or Bill Ackman and all these guys just don't pay up to save face. But this is going to take us a long night. But when you think about private capital and venture capital, it's a whole different type of people and their ethical code doesn't work the way that we always want it to go. Shashi on your channel says she's writing down, or he, I'm not sure, writing down the quote. I don't think your elevator works all the way up to the top floor. So I guess you gave them bars tonight, Leighton. Yeah. Anyway, we've been over an hour. Sorry, guys, if we don't get to all of your comments. Leighton and I will always be back soon. He has a really good, actually, which this is a good way to end. He did he dropped a video earlier this evening on his channel talking about the proceeds from the championship night for 100 meters at the Boys and Girls Championships coming up.
From bleachers, yeah.
Yeah, or the week after. They will be going to support schools in the western part of the country that has been heavily impacted by the hurricane. So if you live in Jamaica or you plan to fly down, I think you want to go there to support that, and make sure you go check out Leighton's video on that. But Leighton, your thought, I get your riff on that. Yeah. Yeah,
the thing about it is that, so what the thing is that Keith Wellington at the launch last night said that they want to have 21, they want to fill the seats on Wednesday night, right? For the 100-meter finals. Right. And for every ticket sold, he would give one free ticket to the sponsors so them can give it away or anything, and people can fill it. Because what it is that they want to sell 10,000 tickets at 500 Jamaican dollars each. That's $5 million that will go to the schools in Western Jamaica to help them with the recovery of the
hurricane
from Melissa.
Yeah.
Grace Care, the money services, is also giving 10 schools $300,000 each to help with their recovery as well. That was announced last night as well. So they're doing a lot for the schools. The full details are on that video, and it's not a long video, it's like 12 minutes. So if you have time, you can go watch it and see what it is. And if you're in Jamaica, just go out and support, because the money will go towards helping those schools out in Western Jamaica. And I'm telling you, if you see some of those schools, you'll be surprised. Some of these kids actually don't even have homes still. So you know how difficult it is.
Yeah.
There's somebody asking a question here.
Sure.
Sorry,
No, it's important that they do that. I just was echoing that for sure. And any kind of support you can give it, I think they will appreciate this. I guess there's what is this?
Do I think she'd shortened her trail leg? What? I haven't had that conversation with her yet.
I don't think there's nothing to shorten there either.
Yeah, they're shortened. But I think what has changed for her is where she positions her leg before she goes over the hurdle. That gives her the ability to snap down fast. I'm going to have that conversation with her before she goes to Worlds. I was actually talking to her day before yesterday, and she's training hard.
She looks quick over the hurdles to me too. What year I thought, she's like,
she is.
Quicker. Yeah,
she is. Look, remember her before France living, where she ran 7:88. Yeah. She took a full tenth of a second of her PB, a previous PB. She ran 7:83. I don't remember the time, but it's 7:83 and then 7:98 down to 7:93, down to 7:88. I think she's in good spirits. And she's been training hard, I know that much. Because I know Kentucky has a long line of sprint hurdlers, huh? Yeah. And of course, she's training with Devin Charlton and Masai Russell, and this girl. She won the conference championship last week. What's her name again? Soon tell you her name. Yeah, but she won for Kentucky. Kentucky,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, Kentucky has a strong history with sprint hurdlers, and I think Megan is beginning to benefit from that. And I mean, we've already seen the benefits of it. She's running faster and faster, and I think she's going to go into the World Championships a lot more confident than a lot of people would probably give her credit for. So, who knows? Maybe the way, honestly, I would be surprised if Meg goes there and ends up on the podium, because that's her mentality. And I think if she goes in and she's healthy, I think she'll contend well. As for that issue with the trail leg, I'll talk to her about it maybe tomorrow, and then when we do the next live, I'll tell you what she told me. But she is
Scales. Her name is Scales.
Scales is who the person.
Yeah. 6, 7, 8.
So so she's training. All of them are training together now, and funny enough, all of them are faster than Meg right now.
Yeah.
But so they're putting her to new levels of performance, and I think that's a good thing for her. So, and it's not off topic. It's not off topic.
It's all track and field.
It's all track and field, so it's not off topic.
And Camille Taylor on your channel is saying good evening to you. She's like, she's liking the frequency of these lives.
Hi, Camille is my good friend. We used to work together at the Gleaner many years ago. She's been a very good friend over the years and a very strong supporter. Love her to death. Man. But so what I'll do, Carl, is I'll ask Meg about that when I talk to her soon, which is most likely tomorrow. And then when we do another live before, we'll most likely do another live before, I'll tell you what she says in terms of what she's done to work on that. But I do know that she's stronger. I do know that she's getting faster. I do know that her mechanics are improving. And she had some niggles, but that's behind her now, so she's fine. So looking forward to seeing her compete with ferocity in Poland. Wishing her all the best.
Yeah. And on that note, we're gonna call it a night. There's NCAA championship this weekend, so there's a lot of track, and we're leading into the World Indoor Championships, and the outdoor season is approaching. There's Continental Gold Tour has been expanded. It kicks off in Melbourne, and all the Diamond League stuff will start to happen by the time we get to early May. So looking forward to all of that stuff. Leighton and I will be back soon. Don't forget to like, support, subscribe to both channels if you haven't done so. And by the time you wake up, I'm sure Leighton has another video for you guys. But anyway, we'll see.
I wish.
You wish. Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Take it easy, guys.